Hey everyone, my name is Taps, and today I'm excited to welcome an amazing team from an amazing project backed by Animoca Brands, Aradena, and who they're partnering with, familiar company, familiar face, the amazing social metaverse NFT project that I recently announced. I actually joined on as an advisor with, and Kaloscope back to the channel. So welcome everyone.
Thanks for having
Hey, how
us.
you doing?
Doing well. This is exciting. I feel like every like 2 months or so, we hop on like another AMA, another conversation, Kirk, and there's always more and more to show that's developing and things that are coming that's exciting. And I know this is our first time meeting, Tom, but I've shared before, but I have a Aradena Warrior. I had it well before I think Telescope was a thing. So, big fan of the project.
Did you get it on mint day or did you buy it secondary?
I bought a secondary, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
fair.
it was JRNY Crypto who he bought like 40 of them or something crazy.
I think he bought 60.
Yeah.
And then
Wow.
he's since minted another 60 women of Aradena. So he holds 120 himself, which is pretty cool.
Wow.
Yeah, and for those who don't know,
Crazy.
JRNY Crypto is one of the probably top 10 or at least definitely top 20 crypto channels on YouTube. So that's why and he's given great advice. So when I saw he was minting these things, I was like, oh, they look cool. Like there's a lot of lore to them. Okay, yeah, I'll go ahead and grab one as well.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely the deepest part of our project is sort of having that like backlore. It's easy once if you've got like a genre like medieval fantasy, I find to sort of like it's already such a well sort of dug out like lore style like of art and projects. So it's attracted a lot of people to come and I think even more people to stay in the project. So yeah, it's cool.
That's great. And so what we want to talk about, we're going to kind of go into the drop that is happening on the 30th. So only a couple days away. So what we wanted to talk about, just for everyone who's here, happy to have you guys in here. Thanks for joining us. We're going to talk about the drop between Aradena and Kaloscope happening in a few days. We're going to talk about Kaloscope, Aradena partnership, as well as the company separate, like what the vision is. There's been some developments on Kaloscope's side that we want to share as well. So before we do anything, everyone, welcome. Thanks so much. We will also take community questions after we get through some of these, but hit that like button. Happy to have some of the fam in here, and let's get into it. All right. So, gentlemen, I am curious because, I came in a little bit later than some others who were part of this whole project. So the partnership was already here before I hopped in. But how did this partnership come to be? Aradena and Kaloscope working together, and tell us about the drop that's happening on the 30th.
Sure. Let me start with that, Tom. So a little bit of the backstory. So Dozer, as people know him as the Comic Way, he's the comic book writer for Aradena. And the first ever comic book was minting, and I said, I'm a big fan of Dozer, so I said, Dozer, I need to have your first comic book, bro. So I told him, he told me that he was about to do a drop, and then I realized that I didn't have any ETH with me, so I had to trade somebody with VV gems in order to get the ETH, in order to mint the comic book. So I said I was panicking, I needed to get one, and then I managed to get it just in time. And I clicked on the buy button, and I got the comic book, and then I took a screenshot of that comic book, and I told Dozer and Era as well that, oh, I managed to get a comic book. Did you guys manage to get one? And they said, oh, I didn't even get one. I was like, really? Well, it took $400 of gas fees from me, so I better have one. Right? And then they told me, what rarity is it? And I said, there's a rarity. And I got like the mythic comic book from
nice.
Aradena. So it's like one of 5, isn't it, Tom? It's like
Yeah. One of you got the second rarest. There's one rare which is legendary, but yeah, you do really well.
So I was like, wow, I managed to get this, and I'm just gonna hold it just because I'm a big fan, and I dove deep into Aradena after that, and I said, we got to come up with some sort of a metaverse space with them. And I asked Dozer, do you think we can, have a connect with somebody from Aradena? And then that's how we started with the conversations initially. So we had a meeting. Tom and I was in Dubai. We had a little Zoom call that showed him the demo for Kaloscope, and I think he saw the vision from there, I guess. And we spent a couple months perfecting the design, creating like the really amazing trailers, thanks to Hera and her designers, and as well as the Venkatesh team as well. So it's been amazing, honestly. Play the video.
Yeah, I was play it while you're talking about it, but
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's really
yeah,
cool.
I mean,
I'm
and
curious,
that's based from
what stuck out to you about Kaloscope to move forward on this partnership?
Well, I honestly think it was we had that initial meeting, and I could see what they were doing, and sort of if you compared what they were doing to everyone else in the space, because there were a few other people doing it, just the quality of what they were building already without the sort of the Aradena branded stuff on it was just, it was so clear that the quality was there. When they said they wanted to partner up, create spaces for us, we'd already had all this amazing 2D artwork created for the comic books, but this really like brought it to life. And as the product developed, I mean, yeah, you guys are looking at the trailer now, like it's just some of the most incredible 3D spaces created that I've seen so far. I feel pretty blessed to have Aradena sort of slapped all over it, to be honest. So yeah, I mean, I think we almost agreed on the meeting that we wanted to like proceed and move together as separate companies, obviously, but form a partnership where they would have sort of a license to all of our IP, and just create these spaces. And they've done it justice. Like it just looks, in my opinion, awesome.
Yeah, I think the team did an amazing job. These look solid. And for those who, I think now a lot of the fam are familiar with Aradena, but if you're not, Aradena has been around for about almost a year, which it's still holding value really well. So for an NFT project to be around that long and have such a loyal community, hold value, and is continuing to build out is pretty impressive, right? It's only a handful of really solid projects that have that tenure and then are still doing well and continue to grow, which I think, I saw that Animoca Brands recently just invested in Aradena, which is amazing. Congrats. Animoca Brands is obviously known for Sandbox and Rev and Quit and a bunch of other projects, right? So being able to have such a large investor who's well known in the space is really impressive.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge for us. That the actual initial meeting where they agreed to invest in us actually came before I met Kirk. But you know how these things are with investment rounds. It just took a long time to sign off. I think I was saying to Kirk actually, like before we do like all this joint marketing, blah blah blah, we need to be signed off with Animoca. So it took a painful amount of time. But yeah,
I remember it was for January, isn't it? It's like
yeah,
you're doing it January and Feb.
God. No, it was so painful, but we got there. We got over the line, and yeah, having them on as sort of I mean, let's face it, the leaders in the industry in terms of the projects which they're backing and investing in, all of the value that they add on in terms of, I mean, they have every expert in the space, so they've just been invaluable to us. And yeah, I mean, it just feels good to be backed by them, to sort of get the nod, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely. Yeah, and so one thing I did forget, I think we talked about the partnership, but can we get a little bit more, I guess, details for those who are interested in the drop on 4/30 as well? So basically, just trying to understand, the time. The day is, of course, on the 30th. But a little bit more about edition sizes, the types of rarities. Obviously, it's using Matic, and why this drop is unique between the partnership.
Sure. So, I mean, the very first thing about this partnership is we're utilizing Aradena's brand, and they have an amazing storyline. They also have some of the best creative teams. So, based on that comic book, we created this space, and we're looking to drop the first NFTs at around, I believe it says here. I think we've changed this. Sorry, I'm just trying to get the time, but it's on the 30th of April. and we are going to do a 2 drop. So, 2 NFTs within this drop. So we have the portals, which are the entrances to your space. And then we have the Aradena space, which is the space where you can project, store, and keep your NFTs. So these two NFTs work well together in a way, because within the Kaloscope ecosystem, you can sort of customize the space that you're trying to store your NFTs. You'll be able to then also customize the entrance to that space. So these two work well together. Now, we've added an extra layer of gamification through this drop as well. So people who are buying, let's say, the common stone variants of the portal of Aradena, if you basically buy 2 of them and then you morph them together after a small fee, you'll be able to then unlock a much rarer variant at a much lower supply, and would have further utilities later down the line once the app is out. And we built these NFTs on the Polygon network, so if people are interested to for our NFT drop, you'll be able to grab that. Just load up on Matic. That's the first very big tip. And the second very big tip is be sure to grab one of our gold or diamond passes, because diamond passes will give you an hour early access. Gold will give you about 45 minutes early access. So think of it as almost like a guaranteed whitelisting in a way. So for people who are, people know the NFT space, being early is always the best, because you probably get the best mint numbers. You also get the best rewards, and I guess we're also adding some cool utilities that come along with people purchasing our NFTs, isn't it, Tom?
Yeah. So I'm not sure if this has been announced to your community yet, but we have our token launch late May, early June. It's super oversubscribed. But we are giving the Kaloscope community, or Kaloscope themselves, $5,000 in allocation to sort of attach to their NFTs, whichever way they want. I'm not sure if you've decided how you want to do that. I think we recommended sort of 50 buyers get $100 allocation. We're launching our token through Seedify. Tokens launch through Seedify regularly, sort of 5 to 10x. So it's a cool little bit of utility. So if someone gets that, it's almost sort of your NFT money back if you manage to get it. So yeah.
Just to confirm. Oh, sorry about that.
Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to confirm that the pre-sale for this drop for the Diamond Pass, it will be at 1 p.m. PST, and that's about 9 p.m. UK time, right? That's for Diamond Pass holders, and for Gold Pass holders, that's about 15 minutes later. And for the public drop, it will be 2 p.m. PST, 10 p.m. UK. And I guess the rest of the world around 11. Philippines is 5 in the morning for me. Just for my
you waking up early.
own drop, it's 5 in the morning.
Man, so to kind of, I guess, sum it all up, there's going to be 2 separate drops, right? So there's going to be the portals, and there's going to be different rarities of those, and then there's going to be the showroom, right, that you can blow up, and it's an NFT that can also store NFTs in it, right? And I think so to the public, there's going to be 500 of each available, correct?
So to the public, there's 500 of each, but 100 of them are allocated for the team, for promotion, competitions, and giveaways as well, so that we can really award the people who are participating in early during our promotion of the Aradena. So, especially for the Aradena community as well as our own community, people are. So the first 500, I think, just to also clarify, the Diamond and Gold Pass holders, during the pre-sale, 30% of the allocation will be dedicated to them, so that so it's really guaranteed there. And it also prevents the diamond and gold pass holders, in order to prevent people from like absolutely stacking everything at once. We've added some limitations as well. So if you have a diamond or gold pass, you will have a maximum of 2 NFTs per, let's say, collection. Let's say 2 spaces or 2 portals max to purchase during pre-sale, so that there's still enough for, again, for people to come in and mint. And then after you do your drop, for the pre-sale, you can still participate during the public sale, but then it gives you early access, it gets you the better mint numbers and a number of things like that.
Got it. And yeah, for those who are joining us, thanks everyone. I would definitely make sure that you have this on your calendars, because when you think about the fact that there's 2 separate NFTs and they look fantastic, and there's only 500 each available to the public, that's not a high edition size or a high mint size, right? Because you have to consider the Kaloscope fam. I think now almost 8,000 followers on Twitter. Like the Discord keeps growing, and then you have to also consider the Aradena fam, right? Like they stack up several of these Aradena warriors, and now they're going to have a space specifically for their warriors that looks fantastic. It matches the style too, right? So something to consider when going for this drop is, if you are a gold pass or a diamond pass holder, you do have the ability to have that first in, right? Which there's a 30% allocation, which is great to hear for supporting people who invested early in Kaloscope. But I think that's great to hear, and I do think that these will sell out and go very fast, and I'm excited for that. But one thing that you did mention, I'm curious to kind of understand a little bit more. For those who don't know, the Kaloscope light paper just came out, which it looks fantastic. Wait, is this it? Nope, this one.
It's in the Twitter.
Yeah, it just came out. It looks fantastic. And then you kind of touched on it, Kirk, a little bit about morphing, right? And I know there's a whole bunch of gamification and utility coming to Kaloscope within the app and all that, and really looking forward to that. But one thing that sticks out is, so you'll be able to morph like the 2 of the Kaloscope kind of portals or gateways into something that is a more rare or a variant. But what that does is it also makes the common then a lower edition size, because it's now burnt one of them, right? So there's almost this game of like, well, like the commons are going to become more valuable as people morph them into something that is already going to become valuable, right? So like, I like that kind of gamification that was built in.
I mean, it was a brilliant suggestion from Brock and Kay, and we actually utilized this morphing concept for the NFTs, which we'll introduce at some point in time. But with the portals, really, like you said, morphing would take 2 common portals, so the stone variants, for a small fee. I believe it's 25 Matic, which is about, I think it's about $30, I think. It depends on the price of the day. You can then unlock one of the, I think there's 4 or 5 different variants. So you have the bronze, silver, and gold, and the Kalos edition. In terms of their units, there's about 135 bronze portals, 90 units of the silver ones, 60 units of the gold, and there's only 15 units of the Kalos variant. So they're super limited as they are. So and but at least you get a much rare variant the moment you morph. It guarantees that you have something rarer. But as you said, when you morph them together, the way it works is you essentially burn the 2 NFTs that you actually use to morph them, thus removing it from the circulating supply of the common variants. And thus, it becomes more valuable because it's scarce. And this really is a competition between the people who are holding versus the people who want to get something much rarer, right? It's it's the holders versus the I guess the collectors, which would be an interesting mix. And same, especially for the flippers as well. If people want to flip for a higher rarity, then they morph. But then if you hold long term with commons, I mean, it's a unique little gamification that we're adding on.
Got it. And is there going to be like a Medium article, or is it going to be on the Kaloscope website? Or I guess where will the details of like the sizes aligned with the rarities and the pricing and all that, will that all be on the website or an article coming soon?
So we have a Medium article already out.
Oh, perfect.
I believe it's in the, if you go to the Medium article, back to the light paper, I guess, I think you should be able to see the Kaloscope Medium articles. It should be the, if you can see the series one right there.
Ah, there it is.
One. Yeah. So it has all the information needed for that drop. So you have to use a MetaMask in order to mint, and you need to have the just be ready with your Matic. The prices are there as well. There's 217 Matic for the spaces, approximately $400, and about 100, about I think 55 Matic. Yeah, 55 Matic for these stone variants. So I mean, for almost like $500, you kind of give or take have a full set, and then you kind of sort it for the Kalos Metaverse. But again, there'll be more utility as we go along with each variant.
Got it. Okay. No, this is helpful. Yeah. So this article, and I think we'll probably have like a retweet of it, probably closer to, but it does share the prices. It shares all the different edition sizes and all that. So this is great to see. And if you're not familiar with how to set up Matic directly in your MetaMask, if you have a MetaMask, you probably have it set to Ethereum most of the time. But if you've never used Matic or haven't added that into the wallet, there's a lot of different, I think was it Athena? I think Athena was saying that she was going to come out and with like another article or something on how to actually to add it to your wallet. So that way people know how to, because I know some people don't have it in their wallet yet, but it's pretty simple to add once you just find the article that shows how you add in the certain numbers, and then it kind of guides you through it.
Yeah, I mean, if you also go to my Twitter page, Tabs, I pinned a post, one of the things that Athena created, which is almost like a Trello board of the live drop details and updates. So with that sort of Trello board, you'll be able to see all some of the tips and tricks of like during the drop. Let's say how to load up Matic, what are the videos used during the drop. If there's information like this Medium article, it's all in that one place. But if people are watching this video and also watching it live, just come and join us on Discord. You can ask the community for all the questions about the drop. We'll be there to help, and we'll be doing constant AMAs over the next few days. So if people need some help on setting these things up, it's a bit tedious at first, but once you do it once, now you're a proper NFT investor, really. Yeah.
Awesome. And I want both, obviously, but I really, really love this showroom. The way this was designed is absolutely beautiful. And what's really attractive to me is the fact that, again, that it's an NFT where you can store your NFTs in it, right? It was built out for the community of Aradena. So, Tom, I'm curious. I know that Aradena are building, a game, and there's a lot of, is it Battlegrounds? Is that what's called? Aradena?
Yeah.
Battlegrounds. Yeah. But I'm curious, what the feeling is, or the community thoughts on having this kind of showroom built out for them, and how they'll be able to utilize it.
Well, look, it's just a sort of like another string to our bow in a lot of senses. Like we have a strong project, but we hadn't gone down this avenue at all. Like the game is really cool, and like what we're building out on our own web app is really, really cool. So we actually have like a questing app. So the website is probably 10% at the moment. The 90% is being released on the 3rd of May for us. So people will be able to go and do questing and stuff like that. But having Kaloscope's sort of these 3D showrooms and the sort of AR capabilities of it is just, I mean, it's just got the most positive sentiment from our community. It really feels like you're stepping into the metaverse, which is insane. And to have it so like well represented and just sort of We didn't really give any creative guidance to those guys. They just went ahead and did it. And Kirk rocked up like 2 weeks after we agreed upon this, and just showed me like, I don't know, just the start of the showroom. I was just like you absolutely smashed it. It's like,
to be honest, to be fair, I was gonna say we actually we were working on it before you even said yes.
the presumptive close.
That's confident.
You know, I told us we're gonna get them. You know, we're gonna get them, whether they like it or not. We're gonna show them. So about 2-3 weeks before, and this was after the comic book drop. I already had the people start working on it. So we're gonna speak to them maybe 2-3 weeks later, and then like these are the people we want to work with, because you know it ties up well. We had this idea of Kalos Nights as well for Metaverse, but you know you guys have this really cool medieval theme, and the fact that we can take inspiration from what you've already released and bring it to this space. You know, our vision in the future is to introduce all this spaces, portals, NFTs, IPs from other NFTs and other brands, so that people can learn about your projects, because it's not just about collecting collectibles. It's about having your own exclusive space that you can decorate yourself, and then you can enter through mixed reality, because that's the main point of a Web3 metaverse. It's about ownership. It's about being able to contain what you want, and I guess that's also the personality wise. If I can put my Aradena warriors in a Kaloscope showroom, then I can also on top of that I can also put, maybe, I don't know, if I own the Bored Apes or something like that, or other NFTs, I can also place it inside an Aradena showroom. That in itself is almost close enough to a little bit of interoperability in a way.
Yeah, I think that's obviously the main advantage of what you're doing. I think when this drop is successful, you're not going to be short of projects reaching out for you to build them virtual spaces, and to, like you said, just have that sort of interplay between lots of different projects, and then you also have the further like user interplay where people are hosting all different types of art. Like they're not just going to be there's not going to be Warriors of Aradena hung up on the walls of every single one of your showrooms. It's going to be like everything they hold in their wallet inside of an Aradena showroom, and then whatever you guys go on to do next in terms of other projects is it's really impressive.
Yeah, and that entire concept is what really kind of turned me on to Kaloscope, right? Is I have a lot of NFTs in my OpenSea, but they just sit there, right? And like I'm part of communities, and I believe in those projects and in the utility of several of those, but they kind of sit there, right? There's no real solid way to interact with them unless they come out with a metaverse, and not every project has the funding or the time to actually create a in-depth metaverse, or at least a virtual space, right? So it's something that supercharges a community again, and then gives them the ability to not just have what NFT they have with that project, but also a space for them to interact with all the NFTs they have, right? And I think that's one of the strongest gaps that is in the space, and that's why, you know, I feel so passionate about Kaloscope and what made me sign on. But that's one of the areas that I think is really exciting, which I think we kind of completely forgot to start that early conversation off. I guess I probably should have said, for those who are newer to Kaloscope and newer to Aradena, do you guys mind giving a high level overview of what your projects are? Just because some people are probably still like, all right, I'm piecing it together because these guys are talking about it, but what is Kaloscope? What is Aradena?
Shall I go first? We're
Yeah,
a little older. So we're almost a year old now. We launched an NFT set in August last year, but we started working on it around June. So yeah, truly almost a year old. We launched 8,000 NFTs. We sold out in 13 minutes. Built a great community full of like evangelists who are still loyal to the project. So we sold our NFTs with the promise of having a game. At the time, we had Aradena Battlegrounds white paper out, version 1. Luckily, I don't think you can find that anymore because it was pretty basic. It's developed a lot since then. We've obviously got backing from Animoca and Blowfish. We've released, well, coming up actually on the 6th of May, we have another comic issue free release. So, but that'll be 3 issues of a comic out. Further 5,200 women warriors who look more badass than the men, in my opinion. And then so we've also partnered with Blowfish Studios is our game studio. They're out in Australia. So they're developing our game, and it's coming on really well. I think this week we've got some digital prototypes starting to be ready of the game. So it's really, really exciting times for us. We also have, sorry, I know I'm going on a bit of a rant right now, but we also have questing coming out. I think I just mentioned it a second ago. But we have this website is going to look very, very different in about a week's time, just over a week's time. It's going to have an interactive map, areas where you can sort of look around the city of Aradena. You'll be able to find quests there, go into your home, go into tavern, look at all of the warriors. It's really, really cool. I've actually been on the staging website today, just going through it, and it's got all of the original soundtrack. It's honestly insane. But that's where we are sort of at with our project, and a brief history of what we've got up to. But yeah, I'll let Kirk take the stage.
Awesome.
Sure, and a little bit about Kaloscope. So the way we describe ourselves as a social media metaverse. Think of this as Ready Player One, but accessible through either your phone or through different mediums like an Oculus or a desktop app. And the way we look at this is that imagine, like, again, a virtual space where people can store their NFTs within an NFT, but then as well as invite people to this space as your avatars. And this is the idea that people want to, at some point maybe have a virtual identity that they can then have their own exclusive space where they can store and collect almost any of their NFTs that they can use to connect their MetaMask or non-custodial wallets onto our platform. We're also adding a little bit of gamification for the people who are partnering with our NFTs. So that gives some extra utility as well for the users. So like another really cool nugget that we're looking to do is, let's say maybe one of the portals will also add a little bit of our own version of questing. But let's say maybe we have a quest that you need to own maybe 2 or 3 Aradena warriors, and you can get like a badge on Kaloscope. So now you can just really show off that it helps improve the secondary market for our partners, so that people buy the secondary market, and then for us it creates activities within these spaces for collectors, and not just collectors but also creators as well. So if you were a creator, you have your own NFTs that you want to sell or showcase, now you have these virtual spaces that are not just rent out ready-made rooms. These are like virtual properties in a way. We have morphing on our systems as well, so you can morph NFTs to unlock rare variants. You'll be able to craft items by staking or holding your NFTs. You can get resources to unlock new items as NFTs, and then combine those NFTs or upgrade those NFTs onto other NFTs. So it's literally back a couple, I think it was 6-7 months ago, Taps, when we had our first video. We were just talking about this on a YouTube, and we didn't even have the demo at that time.
Yeah, it was all vocal. There was nothing. It was just basically like talking about something that you can't show. But that's like, I think the hardest part for some people for a while. They've been like, Kaloscope sounds awesome, but I would need to understand more by visually understanding it, right? And so we're starting to see all of it pieced together, and more of it keeps developing. So that's why I like the higher overview. But hey, we have something to now show. If you haven't checked out Kaloscope's website, I'm sure you've seen Kirk and all the fam posting things on Twitter. But there is a lot that is coming that is helping with some of that visual understanding and premise, right? So can you speak to, I guess, the roadmap, like what we have today and how things are going to keep rolling out? Because I know people are asking for the mobile app. People are asking, when can I actively start building my profile, things like that.
Well, as expected, the when questions will start eventually. So yeah, for in terms of the roadmap, we are, I guess, at Q2 at the moment. So we've done a little bit of a website, the introduction of the passes, and also the sale. So at Q3 now, actually, you could probably go through our. If you click on the light paper medium article, on if you just go back to that page, you'll be able to download. No, actually, just go back to Kaloscope. Just click on. No, the Kaloscope medium. Yeah, and then click on the light paper. You'll be able to just click on here, and you'll be able to download the light paper that we just created. So this is the medium article, but if you just click on one of the links there, you'll be able to download the PDF file of the light paper, and it should showcase a very detailed, a very easy to read sort of understanding of what Kaloscope is. So if anyone is watching this video, you can download that light paper. It has the summary of the gamifications, some of the utility of the passes, the collections that we're planning to release over the next few months. And if you go to, I believe it is page 7, 8, if you just scroll down a little bit, there's a section there of the roadmap. Yeah, so there's a little bit of the roadmap there. So after the Aradena drop, we are actually doing an event that we've sponsored with NFT Metaverse GameFi event here in the Philippines. It's one of the first and largest Southeast Asian events, like literally on dot ever. And a lot of celebrities, politicians are going to be there. We have our own, it's going to be in a beach club, cabana room type thing. It's quite cool. And there'll be an NFT fashion show as well that will be happening, and Kaloscope branding will be showcasing there. And we'll be promoting the Aradena sale as well. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening during that event. It'll be live. We'll be sharing some live stream links of the event, and I'll be a public panelist speaker during that event too. So a lot of media, some of the top 10 media publications will be there. I'm talking about this event, and then a lot of post media as well, talking about like the project, as well as we'll be talking about, especially about the Aradena job. So we're going to start marketing it as much as possible.
Wow.
So it's a big honor. It's a huge honor, really.
Yeah. I mean, so you're going to be on a panel speaking at the largest NFT, event in Southeast Asia next month. And then another month or two, I think, 2 months after that, you're going to be also speaking at NFT NOIC.
So another big
a lot
event.
of visibility for Kaloscope and Aradena with this project. I mean, that's pretty impressive, especially since I know, that the app is going to be coming out soon. We're going to be doing the token launch, but having this kind of visibility this early at larger, NFT projects, metaverses, public figures, big media, Web3 developers. I mean, that kind of presence at these large events, I feel like that's going to supercharge this community and supercharge this project. So I guess, what are your hopes by doing these events, and how are they going to expand into Kaloscope growing as a project?
So, as the project we have at the moment is very, very ambitious. Social media metaverse is like saying we're going to build the next Facebook, and we're going to build the next Facebook, like that type of thing. And for us, you can't just do this alone with the team that you've got. So you have to build connections in these events, by partnering with like established companies, teams. And they normally show up in these events as well. Investors, connections. It's the place to be, and we've already developed like a really amazing community, partnerships, as well as a very clear concept of what we're looking to do. So, and advisors as well, we're top level, Amazon level partners. So, it's really the best place for us. The more visibility, the more you attract the best, and and people, the best get attracted to the biggest visions. the one that who really wants to make it happen. So we're really confident we'll attract the best in order to create the best value for our community. And the Aradena drop will be the stepping stone. Then a lot of NFT projects, I'm pretty sure, would then come up with new partnerships in there. The GameFi event will help us establish the brand, and on top of that as well, set us up for the token launch, private token launch around June, we're aiming. And then about Q3, the public launch of the token. And afterwards, you'll be waiting for the alpha version of the app, which only the Diamond Pass holders will have access. Just for the alpha version, it will be the basic version of the Kaloscope. And then after that, we'll introduce it to the Gold Pass holders. So there's a lot of scope. We're trying to make it to just give as best as we can, because there's a lot going on. Mm-hmm. But just read our light paper. It's very detailed. Athena really spent loads and loads of hours the last few weeks developing this and cramming this down before the release of our major white paper. We're just finalizing it for tokenomics, as you know, Taps. So hopefully by then we'll be creating am I echoing apparently?
I'm not hearing an echo, but yeah, to that point, I mean, that's been asked a lot too, is the token, right? And definitely has been a lot of strategy put into how to build those tokenomics. And obviously we can't share all that yet, but how that's built out, how it's going to be rolled out, there's a lot to it, right? Because you want those who invest in a token to obviously have it remain valuable. But the other side of this too is, how do you make the token utility super valuable for all the users and make it scale, right? So Kaloscope's goal isn't to just, have a couple hundred users and, have a small community that is actively, playing with their NFTs in their spaces. It's to really scale to the size of being a top player in the metaverse and NFT world, right? So that, in order to build that out early, you really have to spend a lot of time on the tokenomics and have quite a few different heads kind of butting together to make sure that it works. And that's why, I think someone was saying like, oh, why don't you have the token yet? Because we really want to make sure that it's going to be valuable for investors and users as we scale. So I'm personally really excited for the token side, because I think that's going to be a pretty fun and exciting process. But this roadmap does lie it out pretty well. And, I'm curious, I guess, for both your projects. The metaverse is obviously blowing up, right? Like Facebook changed their name to Meta. There's Nvidia, there's Microsoft, there's Disney, there's all these companies now that are hiring for metaverse roles. And then there's obviously other projects that are jumping in the metaverse space. It's starting to become a crowded, or at least a little bit more of a crowded space. So for both of your projects, Aradena and Kaloscope, what's the long vision, and then how are you going to make sure that you keep growing and stay at least competitive with all these other projects and all these things that is in a growing space?
So I think for us, it's our unique selling point is that we are bridging the gap between those Web 2 gamers and those Web 3 gamers. I think the Web 2 gaming industry turned over 350 billion last year or the year before, and I don't know if you played many blockchain games. They're fairly simple. They're not attractive to Web 2 gamers. They're not fun.
Yeah.
And we sort of, like, in this space now, kind of own this niche of medieval fantasy, where we are one of the biggest projects with the biggest visions. And it's just such a die-hard sort of area and genre to go into. Hence why our community is just full of those evangelists that are just so interested in the direction that we're going down. I think if you look at our gameplay as well, on our white paper, obviously we don't have a lot of gameplay out at the moment. Just how dynamic everything is and how much depth there is in our game just means that we can sort of give those Web 2 gamers that are coming over an easy access and something which is actually like fun to play, And if they can do it and then say, oh, hey, I can actually earn some money out of this, that is just like the ultimate in sort of like, yeah, then you start getting into how attractive like Web3 ownership is. So it's not just attracting more gamers into the space, but just regular people who are just aren't involved in the crypto space or the NFT space. So I'd say that's our long-term vision in terms of just being able to onboard as many people as we can into this space, and onto our platform. So yeah.
No, that's great. And to your point, I have played quite a few play to earns over the past year, and I'd say the biggest one of, you know, at least to date has been Axie Infinity, which I did breed Axies, I did battle them, and I will say after 2 weeks, maybe even 1 week of battling, and no hate on Axie fans, but it's just not very fun, right? It's very monotonous. It's kind of the same game. It's very easy. It's very attractive though to you know, like Southeast Asia, for instance, like the Philippines ate it up because of the ability to make so much more via the exchange rate, right? So
Yeah,
it did really well, but the gameplay, if you're an actual gamer, it's not
never,
very solid at all. It's very
yeah,
monotonous.
it's never going to attract like serious gamers to it. So ours is pretty much based off of it's strategy gameplay, on quite a large board. You have a commanding warrior and an army to choose, an army deck to choose from. So essentially that will give you just this like insane amount of variables when it comes to gameplay when you're playing against other people, to the point where the map is always different, the terrain on the map is always different, the person that you're playing against has a completely different army to the person before that, and a completely different commanding warrior. So all of these variables just means that there will be strategy to the game, like that everyone will have their strategy, but in the same way that chess has 10 billion ways to complete a game, ours will have the same, probably more variables than that. So it just means that you just enter into a completely unique situation every single time, and it will look different, it will feel different. And if we think that sort of level of gameplay and just really, really attractive sort of medieval fantasy slapped on it is just going to be ultimately an incredible product. And obviously, we can't bring out the next Modern Warfare. Like everyone knows that, like we don't have 10 million and a AAA game studio like that are going to bring out something that amazing. But what we've done is sort of leveraged our position and knowledge on strategic gameplay and just gone, hey, this could work, and we could get this out in a year, and this could be like a hit, like the same way as what like Hearthstone is a hit, and then like sort of a cult classic. Like we could be that first game in the space that's actually fun, and like people enjoy playing this, and people can earn money. And obviously, the more popular it gets, the more money people make, and the more sort of like entwined everything comes, and the deeper the strategy gets between the evangelists. And yeah, it's just very, very exciting times on our end.
Awesome. And this kind of this kind of style game, which it's like a strategic, almost RPG kind of feel, right? Like it reminds me of like Fire Emblem, or like old school back in the day. There was like some game called Brigandine. Like all like this kind of style game is actually right up my alley. So I definitely dig this style. But this is pretty cool to see. And I think this kind of style play to earn hasn't really been seen very much in the space. So, you know, this has been a really effective type of gameplay, because there's still games coming out today that are this style, right? That are mainstream on like the Nintendo Switch and Xbox and all that. So I like seeing this in our space now, the NFT gaming blockchain world, right? So very cool to see.
Yeah, I think the way that we look at it is just this weird hybrid between sort of the battle simulation is going to look like a little bit like Civilization does. Obviously, that's a world builder and whatever, but so that's sort of what we're going for, battle simulation. We're going to have these hexes, and they're going to sort of, the scales are going to be a little bit weird, but it's all going to look very attractive. And then you take sort of the like variability of Hearthstone and sort of like Total War and games like that, and mold them all together, and you just get this really cool sense of like an achievable strategic game that could really onboard a lot of people, be complicated as anything, so strategy can be formed, but also give people the easy on ramp to come on and play the game, and for it to be fun for them. So we're really happy with sort of the level which we've hit So it's not too like unattractive to people getting into the space, but also attractive to Web2 gamers that are going to come in and be like, oh, hell, there's a hell of a lot of depth to this.
I love it. This is awesome to see. And then so second side, Kirk, question, I guess the same thing on your side, right? Is Kaloscope is, new project. There's going to be a lot of awareness popping up with all the different events, with all the different things being created, but in a space where, again, it's extremely competitive and, you really have to make a lot happen in order to make a splash. I guess, how do you see Kaloscope being able to come out right away and do really well in the metaverse space?
Well, one thing I could say is that we have, I read this book. It's called The Blue Ocean Strategy, right? There's this concept of the red ocean and the blue ocean. The red ocean is when you're competing for the same space, and then you'll be able to, I call this, you're just trying to compete on price or trying to compete for time, let's say for a game, and we're not really something like that. Like where we see ourselves is we see this blue ocean where it's untapped, where there's going to be hundreds and thousands of different metaverses out there. Like, like Disney's coming out to Nike. We have like Aradena as well. Everyone's going to have their own metaverse. But, where is this one consolidated place for you to find out about these projects? Unless you're part of that community, you won't be able to learn so much in order to get into it, really. So we're trying to build this this sort of ecosystem, this metaverse, almost like a metaverse aggregator, wherein you can own a metaverse space from Aradena, but then you could also own maybe a metaverse space from another brand. So maybe let's say Illuvium. So people from maybe Illuvium could then go into the Aradena space, and the community from that will then hop over to Aradena. Or maybe from Aradena, you can then find people in Illuvium. It's this cross-pollination of different communities in a singular platform, and you're designing the social media in a way for those collectors and creators that you have this potential. And this is where we will stand out, because we're not competing. We are actually bridging the metaverse, or bridging communities from other metaverses, which is the biggest limitations right now for like Facebook or Instagram. Twitter is the number one space for a lot of these NFT and crypto projects, but it's not Web3. It's not, and we're trying to build or try to be the first one to create something unique, something that's accessible. And we also believe that, with these brands getting into the metaverse, this will then attract more people to mass market. And when there's mass market, you need to, we're actually in this phase, early 2000s, like when everybody has their own website, right? It's like, for me, a metaverse is almost like having your own website. Everyone's going to have one. Yep. But then somebody has to come up with a way to make the internet more social, because people are still scared of jumping into the metaverse. Some people might get into it for the money, but then the number one thing really that people come into when it comes to any space is the social aspect. The reason why you're there is because your friends are there. The reason why you're collecting these stuff because there's other people collecting it too, and that's how you build relationships. And to build a platform for that is the opportunity that we've got, and that's how we say we'd be different.
You said two things there that I really liked. One is that you're not really competing with anyone, right? And I think, a lot of my followers, community are focused around Vivi and Ecomi, right? Which, I'm a huge fan. I got a big light behind me, but it's, one of the questions has been like, aren't they a competitor? But at the same time, that's what I keep telling people is no. Kaloscope is, like you said, an aggregator, right? You're trying to bridge multiple projects into one social space, one social metaverse. And I think that's what's going to happen. The other piece that you said was everyone is building metaverses to the point where it's going to be like a website eventually, right? It's that .com, it's your URL, where eventually you're going to have, maybe you're in 12 projects and maybe 8 of those have a metaverse. And so is your day going to be compiled of you going into 8 different metaverses, or maybe 2 of them talk to each other, but some don't? Like, they have to build that partnership, or you can have a space like Kaloscope that allows you to bring those NFTs, those assets into a specific space that you design, that you create, or that you can buy. And that's where I really see a lot of this doing really well, right? Is because there's going to be that need. If there already is a need, but there's going to be a greater need as every metaverse comes out.
No, definitely. And if you watched Ready Player One, it's just literally watched like maybe the first 10 minutes of it. You know, when the main character Parzival just comes into this lobby, and so many people come out of a portal, and then they're in this like this little bridge, and then he starts talking about the different worlds that are part of this oasis, where you could be on a wave, you could be climbing the Mount Everest with Batman, you could be in a shooting game, you know, like playing some sort of Call of Duty or Halo or whichever. So everyone's going to be in these different metaverses. But then, just like in the real world, you know, you can go into any shopping mall or you can play any sport, but then you always come back home. You know, you bring back, you know, the basketball to your room, or your soccer ball to your room, or even if you go out shopping for your clothes, you bring it back home. You keep it in your space that's exclusive to you, and you design that space according to your taste, because one thing you realize is within this space, it's also a representation of a person's personality, and with that personality comes identity. And when you have a virtual identity, that is the real key of the metaverse, I believe, because people want to have a different, almost like I want to be a different, you know, you could be anything you want to be in the metaverse, right? There shouldn't be too much limitations. You could be a human, you could be any gender, race, you could be a dragon. You know, it could be an Aradena dragon walking around the metaverse space. But then it goes back to, you just need your own virtual home to start with, and then you expand from that, you know.
I think what you were saying there, Kirk, about having that sort of sense of digital ownership and being able to bring something back and create a digital identity is what the metaverse is sort of missing in a lot of ways. And it's what that when that sort of starts to become more of a reality, where people can start bringing stuff back to their home, to their Aradena, like flipping kingdom room, then they will be able to start creating that identity, which will make the metaverse just so much more believable, and so much more attractive, when people can say, hey, I've got all of this stuff, but it's here. You have to come here to view it. So it's really cool.
Yeah. And I completely agree with you, Tom. That's some of the proof points in this, right? And what really speaks to me about, or what kind of spoke to me so much about Kaloscope, is I do think about other projects and how they're targeting specifically like a retail buyer, or like to build up their user base, right? But all of the different sides that come with Kaloscope is you're attracting those retail users like myself, right, to invest in the project, to collect and all that, you know, engage in the metaverse. But then you're also attracting artists who can create things in there, right? You're attracting projects like fantastic projects like Aradena, who can come in and use that, you know, that launch pad, or the ability to build assets directly in here and then bring their community in to have some kind of, you know, social setting as well. And the other piece that I wanted to touch on that was really attracted me early, that I was kind of able to get wind of before able to announce it, and that was the NFTs. So this was, you know, announced. It's in the white paper. If you haven't read the white paper, everyone, I highly recommend you hop in here. I was able to skim it and then like read little portions of it before this interview today, because it just came out. But Kaloscope is supporting the Great Green Wall Project, which is one of the largest carbon capture projects on the planet. It partnered with Sirius Shea, which is working collaboratively with the World Economic Forum. So they're not just targeting NFT projects and users and artists, they're targeting large organizations. I mean, they're working directly with Sirius Shea, who is working or partnered with the Economic Forum. So to plant over 1 trillion trees across Africa, backed by the United Nations. So this larger kind of vision of working with all different sides and bringing it into one project, that's where I see like the big vision, right? Is you're going to be able to kind of target different types of audience as a whole.
No, definitely. And it's these institutions that are looking to go into the metaverse space, and also to introduce a new way of building a community when you're trying to do something, let's say, sustainable, something charitable, something that so it could be a cause, depending on what your movement is. This is the opportunity to do that and to raise funds for that project. And the good thing about this NFT project is, this was actually I pitched it to William, who is the head of this project, and the biggest issue all the time is, we know that people get scammed just let's say, plant a tree, pay some money, and then you don't get anything in return except for a thank you email, right? So what we're trying to do with this concept here is you can then create a virtual tree and geotag that into a location, and then in somewhere in Africa, so that now this collectible will have a geotag location of an African tree. Now this tree feels like it's connected to something real. And then when I showed him this in augmented reality, like, he cried because he hasn't seen that tree that reminds him of home for X number of years, because he's too busy trying to raise money for a project. And the point of this metaverse concept is, we didn't want to always just like limit this into like lands, just like many other projects, because to me it's a bit ridiculous to create artificial scarcity and pay hundreds of millions of dollars for it to flip, when the metaverse should be given to the people to build as much as you want, with experiences within that metaverse. That's where the true value is. Like Aradena coming up with their own metaverse, with their own space, you want to go there and experience it. It's about the experience, not about the limitations within it. And sky's the limit when it comes to the imagination and what you store within that space. And just like these NFTs, you can have a picture or a painting from a New York artist, but then you can have a tree that's tagged to a real tree in Africa, placed in the same room. That's your story. That's your proof that you contributed to something sustainable. And for an organization and a company, imagine if we started adding carbon credits to this. Right? Now, boom, you can have like oil companies or like people that are in these unsustainable organizations that are willing to then purchase these NFTs, maybe in the primary or secondary market, as a way to, let's say, offset their carbon by buying this as a new form of carbon credits. But again, these type of concepts will be a little bit later down the line. We're still exploring these concepts with Sirius Shea and their team. But that's the potential of NFTs. You can sell them this stuff, but then you need to have a place to keep it. And that's really the biggest gap in the market.
No, I love this. And that's where it's the institution side, right? I think that's where anyone can create an NFT project, right? However, the ability to keep it relevant and keep it growing and keep it scaling is where there's hardship sometimes, right? If you want to create a company and not just a project. And I think that's the way of looking at it. And same thing with Aradena. You guys are continuing to add on and to build that game and to go through questing. And so I'm curious too for Aradena. I know there's another comic drop coming. I know that questing in the game is coming. I guess, are there any other talks about potential, further things on the horizon, or what's the big view in the next, 2 or 3 years?
So our sort of flagship model is going to be based around Aradena Kingdoms. So Battlegrounds is our game, and then Kingdoms is our sort of like land metaverse sort of style area. This hasn't been ridiculously fleshed out. We're a big team now. I think we're close to 60 people. But we are focusing all of our resources on just making sure Battlegrounds is a hit without Battlegrounds being a hit. So the Kingdoms will come, but like it'll be different. It will be whatever. So, but yeah, that's the grand vision, is to make sure that Battlegrounds is a hit, and then we can move on to creating Kingdoms, which is a land-based game. It will be sort of our Aradena map split up into hexes. People will be airdrop land, so You'll have literally a parcel of land in Aradena. There'll be set resources. But I think the best way to think of that, and the way that we're kind of thinking of it at the moment, is sort of a Clash of Clans style game where you can raid people's villages, you can go find resources. So yeah, that's the sort of grand vision, and ultimately just overtake Axie within the next 18 months as the biggest blockchain game.
That's exciting. I'm a gamer myself, and the one I'm most excited for right now is Illuvium, just the AAA gaming. Like, I like auto battlers, like Teamfight Tactics, and really excited about that. But I also like the strategic games like Civilization and Fire Emblem, and so that has that kind of feel. So looking forward to when that rolls out, and definitely going to be using my warrior to command or to conquer some villages. And yeah, that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, you'll be able to use your warrior a lot more in the next couple of months. We've got off-chain questing coming on 3rd of May, obviously, and then around about the time of the IDO, we're going to have on-chain questing, so you can start really earning some of our token from just sending your warrior off in sort of a gamified staking type way. That's our first sort of model for people to start using their warriors, and then battlegrounds will be released we're looking at the end of this year, at the start of next year, sort of like early next year if we do roll over Christmas time. But yeah, it's very, very exciting times for us. It's a good time to be a warrior holder.
Awesome. Great to hear it. And then I did see some recent news, Kirk, that Kaloscope has a new partnership. So I wanted to ask you about that. A partnership with Sketchfab. So for those who don't know, Sketchfab was acquired recently by Epic Games, the company behind Fortnite. So curious, I looked a little bit about Sketchfab. They have a solid website and they create solid content, but can you kind of speak to what that partnership looks like and what Sketchfab will be doing for Kaloscope?
Sure. So the way that, because our app is not out yet, we wanted to give the experience of the 3D AR functionalities to the Aradena NFTs that we've got. So that's the reason why we are partnering with them to integrate their API onto our website. So then you'll be able to then have a 3D view of the, let's say, the Aradena space, the Aradena portals, and also I didn't announce it yet, but you'll be able to do the same thing for your passes too. So if you have your Kalos Pass Gold or Diamond, you'll be able to view them in 3D and maybe also project them in AR, which we've been teasing for a while now. And to just give like a little bit of a flex that you own these passes or you own these NFTs. But the real utility will then come in a couple of months when when the app is out, that you can really experience a full version of that. So this is again just a strategic partnership. So and we're looking to do other partnerships as well in the next few months, which we'll announce as we move forward. But they're an amazing company. They have a very innovative AR VR 3D system connected to Unity. And a lot of like artists go to their sort of marketplace to sell different artworks. So I just communicated directly with the CEO earlier about it, but yeah, I mean they're a massive company.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I think the fact that, like I said before, at least when we started this AMA, was it seems like if we do an AMA every 2 months, there's more partnerships, there's more things that are announced, and that's what you like to see, because Kaloscope, I think our first AMA was about 7 months ago, and at the time there wasn't really much to show, and now we're talking about partnerships with Aradena, which is an amazing project, right? Backed by Animoca brands, and then talking about partnerships with large companies who are going to make the technology better, like Sketchfab. We're talking about working with a company that is, tied to the United Nations and the World Forum, right? So like, I think the way that it's building out is smart, because we keep seeing more and more ways for it to go into other avenues. And so that's why I was curious about Sketchfab. And on that note, the other piece too, and I think this needs a little bit of understanding too, is what's happening with the Meta terrace, right? I think it's been talked about quite a bit.
Yeah, so Metaterrace, as we talked about before, it's a utility. We're adding a real world utility for our pass holders. So whoever has a Diamond Gold Pass will be get access to the Aradena sorry, the Metaterrace bar. So you just think of it as a rooftop bar in Dubai with a beautiful view of the Burj Khalifa. And then what we've done is like our CTO Christian, him and his team recreated the whole bar, a one-to-one copy of the whole bar, and you can walk around the bar. And as you look it up while wearing a VR headset, you'll be able to see, like flying cars or like a giant whale flying in the sky. And on top of that as well, we've introduced, as you from the video there, augmented reality menus. So what you can see from that video, he's actually trying to show people that you can scan the menu, and then you can then purchase NFTs while you're in the bar. So you can then like imagine doing a drop while you're having a drink. You can just scan the menu, and then you can then press press the buy button, buy NFTs while you're having a drink. So you can also order food with it. So like a 3D version of the food. You'll be able to see what the food looks like when you're having, trying to go through that menu, or the drinks as well that you're trying to order. But it's just a new way to give like that spicy experience for our community as well. So if you guys are in Dubai at any time soon, you'll be able to experience that. But at the moment, it's just limited to events. So it's not like a fully open bar. We'll be doing a couple of events with a lot of the top of the line. I think they have like celebrities coming in over the next few months, brands as well. They're renting the Meta Terrace for these events. And again, since these events are exclusive, you're gonna need to have a pass to come in. So yeah.
I saw on the roadmap, CalCon is on here. So I mean, I'm just thinking whether it's CalCon or maybe the whole Kaloscope team needs to get together and go to Dubai. I'm all for it.
Oh yeah, I mean, CalCon was it was an assumption the Athena created, and the idea is that like maybe at the end of the year, the way I kind of imagined it at first was the Apple style event. Like we want to tell you about the future of like roadmap the next year or so, introducing new features as well as the alpha version of the app, and then maybe also introduction to some of the different other NFTs that we'll be launching, like the Avatar collection or the Calo Pets collection as well. So there's different little nuggets that you'll be able to see in this white paper and the aims that we're looking towards. But more drops. I think sometime Q3, because Q2 Q3 will be focused mostly on the token, like between that, and then we'll be focused more on the drops with the partnerships, and then after that it will be again the release of the alpha version of the app. So that's the aim. Again, delays could happen, just like anything, but we're trying to be as transparent as possible, get the community to be part of it, adding new utilities, both in the metaverse and in the real world. There's a lot that we're working on.
Awesome. And we'll take some community questions. So everyone start thinking about questions that you have for Tom from Aradena or Kirk or both. So go ahead and start typing those now. But I do have one other question, Kirk, just because it was mentioned on the AMA. You mentioned how there will be NFT staking. So what does that look like within Kaloscope? And will you be specifically staking NFTs dropped by Kaloscope, just for clarification? Or will you also be able to have maybe the ability to stake other NFTs that are, I guess, projected into your Kaloscope metaverse?
So at the moment, it'll be Kaloscope exclusive NFTs, and then you'll be able to earn points, let's say, the longer you hold it per day. Those points can then be, let's say, you can use those points to redeem the experiences. So it could be like, again, the metaverse, access to the Meta Terrace maybe, or it could be like access to, we're talking about the island, maybe as well as the, how do you call this, maybe a free item as an NFT, like you can then exchange it for points, or the token allocation for, let's say, our token release. So it's all about that. It's all about the utility of holding. It's about rewarding people who are really holding these collection, and especially with the Aradena as well. So let's say you get a certain number of points for the rarity. Maybe the lower edition numbers you got, the more points you'll get as well. So we're really studying the market on how to reward the collectors, and on top of that, maybe earn badges for doing certain things like morphing. You could be a master morpher, master crafter, like different avenues into that too. But that's really the case for it.
Awesome. No, thanks for clarifying that. Annette asks a really good question, actually. Can the pass holders join the events in the Metaverse virtually?
So we were looking to that once the Kaloscope app is out. We are a partner with Metaverse because Colossal Bit, who owns the Metaverse, is our early investors. So this initially we wanted to have it on Kaloscope, but again, it's quite a bit of a task to make it happen. But you will be able to enter the Metaverse, come to the Metaverse bar with your Metaverse avatars, and then have a little chill space there. And that's sort of like the concept we were looking to, but it won't be probably out till probably next year. As the app develops, of course, the app development is the most important key to this. But yeah, soon.
Always soon. Awesome.
Favorite
Anyone else have any other questions while we have them on here, just because it is live? So I want to make sure that everyone understands, what Kaloscope is, what Aradena is, and how the two are partnering together. I think it's pretty exciting to see this kind of collaboration and from both projects, and there's definitely some synergies. So I definitely am looking forward to what is happening with both projects as they develop out. Where can people learn more about Aradena and become part of the community, or at least kind of, learn more and determine if they want to join?
Yeah, so the best way to sort of go about all of our content would be to find us on Twitter. So it's at Aradena Warrior. If you're already following Kaloscope, then they tag us in a heck of a lot of stuff. Follow that. In our bio there, you can go into our link tree. And then pretty much from there you have all of our sort of resources which you can go and look through. I'd suggest going to the website, going to the white paper, having a look around. And then once you're sort of a little bit familiar, you like the look of it, join our Discord and just say hello in the general chat. We've got a team of mods, and also just a even bigger team of investors, always in sort of the super friendly community. We always get commended for how nice everyone is and how well informed everyone is as well. We work really hard to be really transparent with our community, so almost everyone is experts in Aradena. So any question you might have, it will get answers straight away. So yeah, I would highly recommend going to the Discord.
Fantastic. And then Kirk, where can people learn more about Kaloscope and become part of the community?
Just like Tom, so it's just Kaloscope Twitter page. We also have our link tree, which will take you to our Discord section and some of the NFTs as well in OpenSea that you can purchase, especially the passes. So it's all linked up there. Just come and join us. But the best way to really learn about a project is just come into Discord. We also have some amazing mods. We also pretty much majority of my time is spent on Discord as well to keep the community engaged. But as as a CEO, it gets busier and busier, and you're gonna miss this moment. So you're gonna miss these early days that you get to interact with your community, and that's really the main part. You want to be part of the community as you're building. You want to talk with them because that's the main point of building something. They want to hear from the founders. They want to hear from the and also they give some really cool advice. So yeah, just follow us on our socials. We'll be there to support anyone with any question, especially during the Aradena drop on the 30th.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for the drop on the 30th. I'm also going to try to pick up a comic on Aradena. You said the 6th?
Yeah, it's the 6th. We actually have sort of whitelist spots going out in our Discord at the moment. So if you weren't already encouraged to go to Discord by my last little bit of chat, if you go into our Discord now, we're giving out whitelist spots for these comics. there's only 100 available, and I think the floor's sort of at least 3x. On the issue ones, it's like 6-7x. So yeah, I would also recommend going into our general and saying what's up for the chance to get a whitelist space to one of those.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, if there's no other questions, I mean, I appreciate the time, gentlemen. It's great to see the collaboration between these two great projects, and really looking forward to seeing how that continues to grow as both projects grow as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Taps. So thanks for having us.
Thanks very much, Taps. Pleasure.
Absolutely. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.